there, Mr. Redder here. Welcome back to another episode of r/entitled Parent Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today. Karen tricked me into eating meat knowing I was a vegan. After that, boyfriend's dad is lucky we didn't call the cops. And after that, am I the jerk for not showing up to my own engagement? Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen has to eat Papa John's for the rest of her life. Ooh, Papa John's? Sign me up. But only those pepper things. So please smash that like button and subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. Karen tricked me into eating meat knowing I was a vegan. I've been vegan for 10 years and vegetarian for 3 before that. One thing to know is that after not eating meat, a person can't jump right back into eating a lot of it without some seriously unpleasant digestive issues. It has to be reintroduced slowly. I found that out by chance when I accidentally got drunk at a bonfire party, got confused between the vegetarian chili and meat chili, and spent the next day and a half fighting for my life on the toilet. Or another time I had a stew with meat by accident and it came out both ends at the same time. That was fun to clean. After these experiences, I've decided that if I ever eat meat by accident again, I'm just gonna throw up real quick, because that's at least better than a day or two of stomach issues. So last week, I was visiting my boyfriend and his family, and his parents and brothers have always given me crap for being vegan. They crack jokes about it all the time, but this time they were kinda pleasant, and on the last day said they had made me a meatless family recipe. This pasta was chunky red sauce with a bunch of veggies and stuff. It was kinda weird tasting, but I was polite about it when they asked, and I said I liked it. Then his dad was like, "Ha! Did you hear her? She said she liked it." And the whole family, except my boyfriend and I, were acting like it was some big joke. Then his dad revealed it had ground beef in the sauce. I was like, oh no, internally, because I had a 4-hour flight the next morning, and I did not want to spend it in the airplane bathroom. So I was like, excuse me, and I walked to the bathroom. His family was like, what? So as a bit of an answer to them, I didn't shut the door when I did what I was about to do, which was throw up. It was a little dramatic, honestly, but I'd rather it come out once easily than unpleasantly on the plane or bus, especially because the bus has no bathrooms. His family was getting kind of mad at me for throwing up with the door open because my boyfriend's brother's kid's daughter got grossed out and threw up also. I was upset, but decided it was better to spend my energy just buzzing off, so I was like, better out than in, right? I bounced and my boyfriend came with me, though he had been trying to talk to his family before I put my foot down and said I was out, with or without him. He's mad at his family for obvious reasons, but he's also kind of upset with me for how I handled stuff, feeling like making everyone hear and see me throw up, not cleaning up the splatter, and then heading out fairly wordlessly. I was like, no, I handled it fine. I wasn't being dramatic. I didn't want to be sick on the airplane tomorrow. And the splatter? They're lucky it wasn't coming out from the other end. At this point, I started laughing at the idea, which made my boyfriend even more angry. He was saying that kind of mean stuff was messed up, and I was like, chill, it's a joke. He's upset with me for that. I'm mad at his family, and I'm wondering, am I the jerk for doing this after my boyfriend's family tricked me into eating meat? Even though I'm vegan and it would cause digestive issues for me? Not the jerk. Boyfriend and his family suck. They should count themselves lucky you didn't throw up on them. These sound like the kind of people who'd think someone was making up an allergy and then put them in the ER when they decided to test their theory. They had no right doing this to you. If your boyfriend is siding with them, then he's just as bad as they are. Dump all of them. Not the jerk. Not the jerk. You don't have the enzymes anymore to process meat. If they looked into it themselves, they would have realized that. They're the jerks for pulling that on you to one-up you. To be fair, they sound like the kind of people who don't believe in science. As in, if a proven fact is inconvenient or unpleasant for them, it can be ignored. Like those idiots who don't believe allergies to be real. OP probably is better off just cutting her losses and going low contact. Not the jerk. Food tampering is an awful thing to do, and in some places it's illegal. If you'd intentionally thrown up on the table in front of them to make a point, then I'd still be on your side. Everyone sucks here. They shouldn't have tricked you into eating meat. Don't mess with people's food. But what you did in their bathroom with the door open and leaving the splatter is gross. And you doubling down on it in the comments is very telling. I can't believe I had to search for this. Yes, everyone sucks here. The other's more than OP, but causing the kids to throw up as a result of your actions is not cool either. Technically, the family caused it. No, the family made OP fly off the handle. Her actions that she chose to punish them with is what made the kid throw up. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or her boyfriend and his family? Please let us know. I know one thing for sure. They'll never trick a vegan into eating meat again. Boyfriend's dad is lucky we didn't call the cops. Disclaimer. I'm pointing out how lucky my boyfriend's dad is that I don't currently own a pew-pew because I genuinely thought we were experiencing a home invasion. Two things that are important to know about me. I am hard of hearing, I'm a survivor of a crime and subsequent stalking. Context. My boyfriend, 28, male, and his folks, who are in their late 60s, own a coffee shop. But because his dad, entitled dad, doesn't want to A. listen to anyone else, B. learn how to run a business correctly, or C. pay his son to draw, boyfriend is largely uninvolved and has talked about being bought out. He's still the administrator on the point of sale system though, because his dad has no desire to actually learn how it works or go through the process to take over the account. The coffee shop drama could be a whole series of posts about how they did us dirty, perhaps another time. We got to bed really late. Okay, early. It was 4:30 a.m., which normally wouldn't be an issue, as my boyfriend was scheduled for a late shift, and I'm currently taking time off work to figure out a medical issue. Boyfriend turns off his phone volume when he goes to bed, and this is well known to everyone close to us. He is notoriously hard to get a hold of in the mornings. I only hear my phone if it's right under my pillow and the volume and vibration is up. At 6:25 a.m., I started receiving the following texts from boyfriend's mom, which I do not hear as I'm passed out. 6:25 a.m. Sorry to bother you. I need boyfriend to call entitled dad ASAP. His phone is off. 7:35 a.m. Entitled dad is going to come wake boyfriend up unless he calls us. Just before 8:30, the dogs start barking as someone tried to open the locked bedroom door. I wake up panicked as whoever it is starts banging on the door. It then stops for a few moments, then starts again. No one has said anything at this point. Not me, not boyfriend, not the intruder. I get up and go to the closet for the baseball bat and start kicking myself for thinking we wouldn't need a pew-pew when boyfriend had brought it up in the past. We open the bedroom door to find entitled dad at the end of the hall. He starts yelling about needing the code for the two-factor authentication for the registers. I start yelling at entitled dad, and boyfriend, who's just as angry as I am, has me go back into the bedroom. I put my hearing aids in at this point. Entitled dad claims to have been knocking on our front door, but neither dog heard him. Boyfriend gives him the code, tries to explain to him that coming into our house unannounced is a huge violation of trust and boundaries, not the first major issue. Entitled dad then yells about needing to get the register working. Boyfriend kicks him out, and we think that's the end of it. Not 2 minutes later, I receive another text from mother-in-law. 8:24 a.m. Please tell boyfriend to send the new code. We still can't get in. Then we hear the clanging of the metal gate and more pounding on the front door. We go answer it, and entitled dad is yelling about needing the new code, and he has a copy of our key in hand. He clearly was going to let himself back in. I lost it at this point and yelled, "You can't just let yourself into our house. What's wrong with you?" He gave me more BS about needing to get the register working. I screamed, "My ability to be safe in my own home is more important than your shop." He took particular offense to this, yelling back at me, "So, you see me as a threat? Am I a threat to you?" I try explaining that I've had my home broken into before. His response, "Not by me," over and over, then continues yelling about the shop. I demand the emergency key back, and after yelling a bit more, he shoves it to me. Boyfriend had enough and yells at me to go back to the bedroom. He will handle it. I do, because at this point, I'm on the edge of a panic attack. Through the closed bedroom door, I hear more yelling, and after a bit, the door slammed. Boyfriend called his mom, saying that entitled dad needs to apologize and that this behavior wasn't acceptable. She asked him, "What does he need to apologize for?" Boyfriend tells her, and she is mortified. I then get this text from her. 9:08 a.m. I'm sorry to have bothered you so much today, and sorry entitled dad made such a scene. I haven't responded. This man clearly doesn't understand boundaries, doesn't think he needs to be held accountable for anything, and felt entitled to just barge into our house and demand his son fix a tech issue. And for the record, yes, I do in fact see him as a threat now. Both of boyfriend's parents know about my PTSD. We know he won't apologize because he genuinely doesn't see a problem with his behavior. It's time for some serious boundaries and a security system. What is wrong with these people? Y'all should change the locks ASAP. OP. That's on my list of things to call our landlord about, but he's out of town until Friday night. We're also looking at security systems on Friday. Change the locks and send your landlord a key. I did this when my ex-husband showed up and flipped out on me when he was supposed to be peacefully working on moving out. Am I the jerk for not showing up to my own engagement? I, 28 female, have known for a while that boyfriend, 38 male, was going to propose. We've been talking about marriage, rings, etc. for a while. I didn't know the when or where, but I thought I knew the how. This is because I've made it clear that I would absolutely hate a public proposal. The very idea gives me hives and makes me queasy with anxiety. It's a personal preference and comfort zone thing, and not an opinion on other people's proposals. There have been a few times where I thought he was going to ask, but I was wrong each time. Wasn't too disappointed because I knew it would come eventually. The night of the conflict was my birthday last week. We were going out to celebrate, and he had even given me my gift early to wear to dinner, since it was the first time we'd be going out for my birthday since before lockdown. We were meant to meet at the restaurant, but my dad called before I left, asking if our big announcement tonight was baby-related, and if so, he'd like to congratulate me in advance in case he didn't make it due to a travel delay. A few minutes into the call, I put two and two together and immediately called my best friend, who reluctantly confirmed my fears. She hadn't wanted to spoil boyfriend's surprise, but she also tried her best to convince him to scale it down because she knew I wouldn't like what he had planned. At this point, I was very late and my boyfriend had been texting saying that I was going to make us lose our reservation. I called him and asked directly if he was planning a public proposal. He couldn't deny it, and after he told me he had reserved the entire restaurant for 75 people, I told him this wasn't what I wanted and that I'd be happy to attend, but only if he promised not to do it in front of everyone there. He said he had told some people and that word got around and they were now expecting a proposal, so he was going to do it, otherwise we would have wasted everyone's time and money coordinating and getting them down there. I said that if he insisted on doing this in a way which made me uncomfortable, I wouldn't be coming at all. I hung up at that point and stopped answering because I was hurt. He's livid, and we've been fighting all week because I embarrassed him in front of our friends and family by not showing up. He says I'm making a big deal of it when we both know I would have said yes, and that I'm being ungrateful because other women would have loved for a boyfriend who would go through the trouble to make a grand gesture. While I agree that I had every intention of saying yes when I knew it was coming, I don't like being put on the spot or being made to feel obligated to say yes because of an audience. He said he won't consider proposing again until I apologize for embarrassing him and promised to chill out about my preferences in the future. I don't feel like I should because he knew I would have preferred something more romantic. Your boyfriend is the jerk. He knows you aren't comfortable with this, but decides to do it anyway because it makes him look good. Instead of treating you like you're your own person, he decides that you are just a part of the perfect proposal that could be to anyone. Not gonna lie, if this happened to me, I'd go, wait for it, then say no and leave. I hate being put in the center of attention, but I'm also really petty, and if you do it to me, I'll make you regret it. Now that's the level of pettiness I wish to aspire to. I'm similarly distasteful of being the center of attention, and if a future partner ever proposed to me in front of a crowd like that, it would be a neon sign pointing to just how little they actually knew me. Red flags. You are not the jerk, and honestly, you should seriously consider using this as an opportunity to rethink your relationship. There's already a significant age difference, but the fact that he went out of his way to ignore your feelings and discomfort should be alarming you right now. And on top of that, he's mad at you for not humiliating yourself for his stupid pride? Nah, this is just a sample of what life will be like married to him. Once that certificate gets signed, he will start imposing his will on you even more and will continue to ignore your distress. He knew this would be distressing and physically hurt you, but he did it anyway, and he was only considering his own feelings. If he really loved you, then he would have proposed in a manner that would be comfortable and enjoyable for you. Then you could have had an engagement party later to celebrate with friends and family. But no, he wanted it his way, regardless of the harm it would cause to you. You should seriously think about that. Just for fun, let's imagine this attitude 10 years in the future. I'll call it, I know you said this, but this. I know you said you want cheese pizza and hate pepperoni, but everyone else loves pepperoni, so I got you pepperoni instead. I know you said you hate surprises, but most people love them, so I threw you a giant surprise party. I know you said you don't want to have kids, but everyone loves babies, so I switched out your birth control. Surprise! I know you said you didn't want me to video the birth of our kid, but everyone loves birthing videos, so I made one and shared it to all our friends and family. That's life with someone who puts what he and everyone else thinks and wants ahead of what you explicitly state that you want. Think hard, very hard, about marrying this man. It might be the last choice you get to make 100% on your own. Not the jerk. You're the jerk. There aren't many places online where you will find more bitter people commenting than here on Reddit. By the way, how are the cats doing, ladies? With these hostile attitudes you all seem to have, those cats are the only ones who will be in your lives long term because they don't have a choice. When my husband proposed to me at our favorite restaurant, sure, I was nervous and uncomfortable. Guess what? You're supposed to be. But then you say yes, everyone claps, and you enjoy your meal. When did you all become so hostile and decide the world revolves around you and your insecurities? Then again, I come from a different time. If I'd claimed to have had anxiety and that I was unable to work because of it, my parents would have laughed me out of the house. If I had complained about being bullied or needing to take a week off for my mental health, I would have been fired and replaced with someone who could actually do my job without complaining. I used to wonder how it was that both of my sons were still not married, both in their late 30s now. They're both very wealthy and own their own companies. They're smart and good looking. They date some of the most gorgeous women I've ever seen, but eventually they break things off once their girlfriends start talking about living together and getting serious. My sons tell me that getting married these days isn't worth what it used to be. Unfortunately, over time, I've come to agree with them. I'd be just heartbroken if one of my sons ended up with someone who stood them up at dinner because they planned to propose. Again, the world doesn't revolve around you, so please stop thinking that it does. This is why good men like my sons and their successful friends are choosing to stay happily single, especially when their married friends constantly complain about how unhappy they are because of their Karen wives at home who think everything revolves around them and their issues. Edit. If you think I'm a mean old lady, that's fine. Cry all you want, but leave my sons out of it. They're some of the nicest people ever. They both do all kinds of volunteer work and donate more to charities every year than most of you probably make in a year. Just because my boys don't want to settle down with someone who is miserable, has baggage, and all kinds of issues doesn't make them bad people. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or her boyfriend? Please let us know. If Reddit boy had proposed to me in front of a bunch of people, he'd need a new head. Trust me, Karen, there's a reason I didn't propose to you in public. What? Am I the jerk for using my husband's birthday gift money to buy my daughter a bike after her stepsister refused to share her bike with her? I'm wondering, really don't know if I handled this the right way. Before I start, keep in mind that we aren't doing good financially. So my husband bought his 13-year-old daughter a bike. It was about $200. My 11-year-old daughter secretly liked it and asked if she could get a few rounds with it. My stepdaughter said no, which was understandable seeing how obsessed she was with it the first couple of weeks. My daughter asked again, but was told no even though we tried to compromise on time. It was pretty frustrating for my daughter, especially when she sees the bike. Fast forward a week later. Stepdaughter no longer rides the bike as often, and most of the time it just lays in the garage. The other day, my daughter called me crying. I freaked out and had to go home because I couldn't make sense of what she was saying. I got home and found my daughter on the porch crying. My husband was inside watching TV. I asked her what had happened, and she told me she had asked her stepsister to let her play with the bike, but she refused. And when my daughter pointed out how the bike was just lying in the garage with no use, her stepsister shouted at her, saying she'd rather throw the bike in the ocean and let it rust than let her ride it. My daughter started crying, which made my husband call her an entitled brat and punish her for persisting. I was fuming. I confronted him, and he casually said, "My daughter should not feel like she has to share what she has with anyone. It's her bike, and if your daughter wants a bike so bad and you think she deserves it, then you can go ahead and get her one." I said, "Darn right I can, and I will." I took the money I saved up to buy him a gift, a watch, for his upcoming birthday, and bought a new bike for my daughter and let her pick the color. Not gonna lie, after seeing her sad for weeks, I felt happy for her. My husband and stepdaughter just watched, but when my husband asked where I got the money and knew it was his birthday gift money, he flipped out. He yelled, saying I shouldn't have touched his gift money and said that I promised him, and he already told his friends about the watch. I told him about how he let his daughter treat mine and encouraged the attitude she had about the bike. He got more upset, saying I was punishing his daughter through him and that by my own omission, he had done nothing wrong other than get his daughter a bike. I said I no longer wanted to argue, but he never stopped losing it on me. Even went as far as to say that I stole the watch money and threatened to exclude me from his birthday. I spent $200 on my daughter's bike, and only $50 was left from the watch savings. Everyone sucks here. Y'all are not functioning like a cohesive blended family. Your stepdaughter is not obligated to share her things. Your daughter needs to learn she isn't entitled to other people's things, no matter how much she wants them. Realistically, the two of you should have sat down and spoken about this before he ever made the purchase, especially since anyone with half a brain could see the outcome of one kid getting slighted. Seriously, how did he not foresee this issue? The fact that your husband feels absolutely no fatherly connection to your daughter and is calling her names is like 20,000 red flags in one. Also, he made his bed and now he gets to lie in it. I find it very ironic he calls your daughter entitled and then turns around and acted like he did. Ultimately, he is the jerk, but you are also the jerk for keeping the jerk around your daughter. I do not understand this thing where people look down on encouraging kids to share. Should stepsister let OP's daughter ride her bike whenever she wants? No. Should stepsister let her ride a bike that hasn't been touched in weeks because it's the kind thing to do for a sibling? Yes. This is why America is such a mess. You're all being brought up to be selfish, entitled jerks, who, when confronted with the horrifying prospect of sharing and kindness, lose your minds and call it entitlement. This is why you have to pay thousands for healthcare, have no social support structures, etc. Because the thought of sharing and helping others brings you all out in hives, apparently. People should be encouraged to share, but that's not the same as forcing them. That's just telling them that nothing is ever really theirs. She should be encouraged to desire sharing, though, and I think in the effort to not force people to share, a lot of people have forgotten that it's still good to desire to be a person who shares. I do not share everything, but I share what is convenient or easy for me to share, and I find joy from that. When I bake a dozen cookies, I find more joy in sharing those cookies than keeping them to myself. This joy in seeing others care for the effort we have provided is what should be the focal point. No, you don't owe any homeless person on the street your extra $2, but it makes you a better person to share that $2 if you can, even if that person spends it on something they shouldn't be buying or whatever else you may disapprove of. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or her husband? Please let us know. If there was a sitcom about your family, I'd totally watch it. Is this what you want? Fine. The customer is always right. I drive for Uber in the Dallas area, and I received a ride request. I picked up the gentleman, and it was a good ride. About 5 minutes in, the rider asked me what was on the rearview mirror. I told him it was my interior cam. He got mad and told me to turn it off because he didn't like such surveillance. I reminded him that the Uber app would have said there was a video recording. There are also signs on the door. He could have declined booking the trip if there was a problem. It escalated when he yelled, "You better turn that darn thing off, or else." Or else? I asked. Yes. That was the reply. Turn it off, or stop this trip. I verified with him his request, and he said, yes, turn that darn thing off, or end this trip. To which I said, fine, have it your way. I will comply. At that, I exited the highway and pulled into a convenience store. He acted a bit stunned before shouting, "What are you doing?" I calmly stated, "You said either I stop recording or I end the trip. As I have no intention of stopping the recording, I'm letting you out of here." That did not go well for him as he started screaming and hurling insults at me, questioning my parentage, and although correctly guessing my orientation, was rather rude about it. I calmly ended the trip as per his request. That was the compliance. Here's the maliciousness, which although I'm very capable of, I rarely do. When ending the trip on the app, I gave him a 1-star rating, as we can't give a 0. As he really was getting on my last nerve, I added, feeling unsafe with rider. As he continued to rant, I pointed to a police car that just pulled in and told him, if you don't leave my car immediately, then perhaps you might want to explain why not to that nice officer. After getting a few more jabs and getting out, he tossed his open protein drink at me, hitting the headrest and spilling all over the floor bed. It was at this time I got a text message from Uber support asking if I was alright. I said I was. They told me his account was suspended and asked if I could send the video clip to him. I said I would and also mentioned the mess. Uber support told me to just send them the picture and he would be charged a $75 cleaning fee, which I got within an hour. So I did exactly what the writer wanted, but due to his petulant behavior, he got a canceled Uber account and it cost him $75. If he would have just left, I wouldn't have done a thing, but play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Am I the jerk for not letting my ex and his new kids live with me? Please note, I'm only asking about the roommate situation he keeps suggesting. Our relationship is well and truly over, and neither of us wants to get back together. My ex, Sam, and I were together for 4 years, living together, talking about marriage and kids, etc. Then one day he got a call from his ex's sister telling him that his ex had a daughter who was probably his. She's 6. He said she had just ghosted him one day and he didn't even know she had been pregnant. They did a DNA test and he's the daddy. I went ahead and ended the relationship because I don't want to be a stepmother. His daughter's mom passed recently and her sister is currently taking care of all 3 of her kids, who are 9, 6, and 2. The sister knew this whole time that he was the girl's dad and never said anything either. The sister has to get home a few states away to her kids, job, etc. She doesn't have the space or money or time to care for the kids on top of her own, so she called Sam about taking them. She doesn't know who the other 2 dads are. The kids want to stay together, so he wants to take all 3. We live in a really high-cost area. The only reason we've been able to live here and have room to plan for a family is that I inherited a house that was bought by my great-grandparents. He can't afford a place with enough space for 3 kids. He can't afford a 2-bedroom apartment by himself here, maybe not even a 1-bedroom because it's so expensive. He wants to move them all into my home until whenever he can afford something bigger, but I don't think he'll ever be able to. It's a 3-bedroom house, and he wants the other 2 bedrooms to be for his kids and to remodel the dining room and living room for a bedroom for him. But I want to move on with my life. I don't want to live with my ex forever. If I live with all of them as roommates, there's no room for me to marry someone and have kids of my own. He's upset because if he can't take the kids, they're going into foster care. But if I let them stay here, I'm giving up the family I always wanted. I asked him how he's going to handle childcare and taking them to the doctor and stuff, and he said he'll figure something out, but I'm worried he's going to dump the childcare on me because I work from home and he works in an office. The mom's sister leaves next week and he's in a panic. He keeps trying to come up with compromises, but I told him I don't want to live with someone else's kids and I want to move on with my life, and he's telling me I should rent an apartment and let him keep living in my house. I just want him gone. Am I the jerk for not letting them all live here? Not the jerk, and don't do it. Once he's in, he won't get out. If he is not at home, the kids will be your problem. You won't be able to move on, won't be able to bring people over. Just know, if he's going to blame someone, push him to the problem starter. His sister, who kept him from knowing he has a kid and then dumping them all on him so suddenly. Exactly what I was thinking. Once they let him live there, he won't ever leave and will use her as free childcare. If her ex's family gives her gripes, ask them why they won't let him live with them. Not the jerk. I'm sorry that you even feel the need to ask. Come on, it's nowhere near being a reasonable ask. Move out, rent an expensive property, and let me live in your house. Seriously? Who on earth would have the audacity to even think that, let alone actually ask for it? I'm gonna go with the tough love approach, so please don't think I'm trying to be unkind. I'm really not. This guy doesn't seem to have a lot of respect for you or your property. He's suggesting you remodel your home to add another bedroom downstairs by messing with the living room and dining rooms. What impact would that have on the value of your property? Has he even thought about that, or is he just assuming it's okay to knock thousands off of your house value just so that he can move in? Given his appalling selfishness and how he's thinking about this, it's obvious that he would be intending to use you as free childcare. After all, you work from home, so are obviously free all day to take care of his kids. I trust the sarcasm is obvious. And I'll bet it wouldn't just be when he's at work, but for nights out too. Have you given any thought to what would happen if he got in another relationship? Do you really want to be lying in your own bed in your own house, listening to him with his new partner? Tell him no. Tell him the no is not up for debate, and if that means you have to cut contact with him, then do so. Otherwise, you're setting yourself up for nothing but misery and exploitation. Am I the jerk for refusing to sit next to a coworker due to his smell and not denying the reason when I was asked? I, 22 female, work an office job. I'm very friendly and I get along with everyone. I would personally say I'm friends with most of my coworkers, with the exception of Jay, who's 31. I don't have anything personal against him, but I'm asthmatic and I have a very sensitive nose, and for the lack of better words, Jay stinks. It's not that he's not taking care of himself, but the cologne he uses is absolutely horrendous in my opinion, and he sweats a lot, so he will always smell strongly of cologne, sweat, and sometimes garlic, since he often eats it raw in the lunch area. I never said anything to him about it since it's not my place, but I'll generally try to avoid sitting too close to him unless it's work-related. Recently, Jay started to become a lot more friendly towards me. Some of my coworkers told me that he has a crush on me, but I don't know if that's true. This resulted in him trying to sit next to me during meetings, on lunch breaks, and trying to hang around my cubicle whenever possible. I tried to politely endure it at first, but as the weather got hotter, his smell got even worse, to the point where I start to have gag reflexes when I'm around him for too long. Now, whenever he sits next to me, I just give him a polite smile, move away, and make myself look busy, hoping that he'll get the hint. This week, we had a particularly bad heat wave in my city, and like every week, Jay again tried to sit next to me, but this time I couldn't endure his smell for even a moment, so I would just stand up and move. Yesterday, he confronted me about it, saying he's hurt by my actions and asked me why I was acting that way towards him. When I gave him a vague answer, he didn't believe me and got even closer to me. At this point, I couldn't control my gag reflex and I almost threw up on him. He looked hurt and asked me if I thought he stinked. I didn't answer and just told him that he's making me uncomfortable and asked him to please step away from me. Today I'm off work, but I got a text from another coworker that I deeply hurt Jay's feelings, and now he's super self-conscious of his smell. I'm starting to feel bad, and I don't know if I'm the jerk in this situation, but at the same time, I don't know what I could have done differently. Am I the jerk?
Support our channel by joining as a member today, and we'll give you a shout out in our next video.
Or come watch this video next. You won't believe what Karen does in that one.